We're going to get started. This is one of my first Zoom TV shows that I've had for it's time for a change. And I'll be honest, I can't think of a better group of ladies to have on for this Black History Month conversation. I'd like to welcome Joyce Higgins, Karen Waller, and my daughter, Gina Meeks. How you all doing?
Good.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Okay, great.
Fantastic.
Let me just start out by saying all of us have been through a lot of stuff since March 17th.
Wow.
That's when I stopped taping my TV show. I had a TV show scheduled that very next day. And COVID came in and just set everything back. And I would imagine, Joyce, with you guys had big plans for raising money for Booker or
Yes.
AARC.
Yes.
And can you tell me and Gina a little bit about what happened, how's it going, and what have you been working on?
Well, you know what? I'm going to say two things. And COVID hit, and we were shut down March the 17th, 2020, correct? And I had only been executive director for 2 months and 17 days. Yeah. So I went into a total shock, how I pay these people, but the state of Illinois honored all of our contracts, and we were able to keep people employed, and we were able to survive. And on top of that, we ended up with some special programs. One was community builders and the other one was cures. And so that was a wonderful thing. Now, the disadvantage is that we weren't able to do a lot of things with the kids because they shut us down a couple of times with the children. And, kids need socialization, right? And so that was kind of a bad thing. But the good thing is it made us stand up and do what we needed to do because we went virtual. Our staff had to learn all these new skills and all of these kind of wonderful things that they prepared themselves for to be able to access our babies online and virtually, get the parents involved and all of that particular stuff. And, as well as getting equipment for the babies. And I keep saying my babies because they are my babies, you guys. And so please forgive me. Now, with all of that said, AARC at Booker normally has an annual dinner. Mm-hmm. And because of the annual dinner, and we normally sell about 300 tickets, right? The annual dinner committee says, we in pause, we can only have so many people in a room, 25 people or something like that in a room. Yeah. And we normally sell 300 tickets. We're going to take a major, major hit in these efforts. And so the committee came back and made a recommendation that we do a book, we do a history book. And, that's my forte. You tell me anything with book, history, I'm all in. So I was so excited about that. And with all that being said, and it's, hit at the right time too, right? Black History Month. The name of the book is Black Rockfordians. Can you see this?
Yes.
And I said Black Rockfordians, but it's African-American Legacies of Rockford, a 2020 historical perspective. We are so excited about this 240-page book. We got a lot of sponsors and we're so excited about that. But it tells the history of Booker from the beginning, from the Colored Soldiers Club. And it talks about all of the previous executive directors that were at the center. Of course, I'm going to tell the story from the executive director's perspective, right? Because that's where I'm at. But oh my God, did I learn so much about what was going on here at the center by coming from that perspective. And of course, talking about the Colored Soldiers Club. And then we talk about all of our programs and services that we provide. We talk about the Chuck Jefferson Library. We talk about the annual dinner events. We talk about all of those particular things. We talk about our Teen Reach program. We talk about all those wonderful things that are going on at the center. But we also are highlighting the appointed and elected African-American officials. And that means mayors, representatives, judges, state reps, all the persons, county board members, school board members, and those particulars. And also the, I don't know how many minutes did I have. We also talked about,
we got 30-minute show.
We talked about the Minister's Fellowship, right?
That's
so
right.
We talked about all of these wonderful people who have served this community so valiantly. I use violent, but valiantly. They have served this community very, very well. So when young people say there hasn't been any elder people, they dropped the ball. Well, that's not true. African Americans in this community have been working very, very hard. By the way, Gina, congratulations for throwing your hat in the ring. I'm so proud of you, sister.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
It's the example of everyone else that I've seen over the years, setting and trailblazing. So it was seeing that example that really put me in a position where I felt like I could own that space. And so I appreciate all of you.
You definitely own that space. And, kudos to you. And you had great examples like your grandmother and your dad. They both served this community so well. But in addition to that, we highlight like 18 African-American legacies, right? Someone email and say, well, whose voice do you have? And I'm like, okay, are you asking me who's featured? There are a lot of wonderful individuals featured in this book. I mean, from today's, I'll call them social activists, from today's social activists to the beginning of time social activists. And so we're so excited about this book. Again, the African-American Legacies of Rockford, a 2020 perspective. And I specifically said 2020 perspective, so someone can't say, well, you didn't add that person, but it's a 2020 perspective, you guys. and the other wonderful thing, we want to be, we want to set be the trailblazers of African Americans collecting their history. That's what Black history is all about, document who you are and from whence you came. If Booker has to be the trailblazer for that ideology, good. And I encourage all of our African American community as a whole, collect your history, document your information, and donate it to the Chuck Jefferson Research Library so we can have it. So when your family members come looking for it, or when we get ready to write the next book, I shouldn't say we, when they get ready to write the next book, we'll have that information. Okay, you guys. Tommy, thank you so very much for giving me a platform to talk, because sometimes I won't stop, but I'm gonna pause here and you can ask any questions you like.
Well, I'm gonna turn it over to Gina, because this is Black History Month. And I wanted Gina and Karen at least to have something to say about how important this month is to them. And then we can finish up with you, Joyce, later, and then I might mention. But I want you guys to express how important Black History Month is for you. I'll start with Gina.
Well, I think for me, it's extremely important. I have been learning since I was a very young child, to celebrate Black history, especially with Juneteenth and everything that we learned, regarding our history. But I think what's important is every time, not just this month, throughout the year, but especially this time is a time to really kind of draw attention to all the things that you don't really know. So it's time to take time out to read a book that you've never read before, to really kind of just dive into your history. So I think this is a great show to really set an example for the book, the historical book that Booker put together, and to really kind of acknowledge Rockford's history. So that's why I think it's important. I love celebrating Black history. It's one of my most favorite months. I'm like Blackish when they get all excited, start decorating the house.
Yeah. Okay, Karen, you have anything you want to say about Black History Month?
I do. I think that I am overjoyed that Joyce Higgins is our historian for the African American Resource Center at Booker. Mm-hmm. The Chuck Jefferson Library is probably the most underutilized part of our facility, where it gives all of the community a perspective on who we are, who we have been, and where we're going. It has, and for me, Black history culminates my understanding of my history, my ancestors, how this affects me, because I am actually a Rockfordian. And so being that, there are certain things that I wasn't aware of, and I'm a Rock 40th, Swedish American, you know, Auburn High School. Okay, anyway.
Right.
So the fact that we can present that as part of our resource to the community for the Southwest Quadrant, and to give these people, our people, our targeted population, a perspective of who we actually are. The legacy is very powerful, and I love that. I love the fact that we can give that and provide that information to the people, because you never know how many children or young people or even adults can go in from the school setting, formative years, high school, college, and come in and get some information that's not Googled, and get that real original perspective of what we are and how we've arrived and come about, and where we're moving forward to.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. I'll just add, I'm like Gina. I love February. It's a cold month, I must admit that, but it's a great month. And when I think of Black history, I really think of the word history itself. And Joyce, I think all of you know, a lot of our people were left out of American history.
Yeah.
I ought to say this to a lot of people. A lot of times African Americans, we don't even know our own history. A lot of us don't even know how we got to this point where a place like Rockford, you see very few African American business owners. We don't know how we got there. There's some historical reasons why it's like that. But I've been saying this so much lately. BLTN, better late than never. I mean, honestly, I'm starting to live by that, because we have to start at a certain point where we get ourselves together as African American people. And to me, it's nothing better than looking at our own history in our own families and bringing it all the way forward, like you guys are trying to do in this book, to let people know this is what went on before you got here. You know, as young people, you tend to think that everything starts with you. You know, like,
Yes.
I'm going to be here forever. This is a good thing. But history will bring you back to reality. We are not going to be here forever. So we have to make our mark like our ancestors made their mark. All the great leaders. But there were other people that were just as great as they were that did not get recognized. And I'll say this, Joyce, I know somebody gonna say you missed somebody in the book.
You know, I already know that.
I
They
know
always
that.
gonna say that.
People gonna say that, but that's the way history is. We had great people that were left out. I saw something in the newspaper today, and I don't remember the lady's name. You guys might know, but it's the first lady that said, "I'm not leaving my seat on this bus." It's in the newspaper today. You know her name? Before
and you're
Rosa
not talking
Parks.
about Rosa Parks.
No, I'm not talking
Rosa
about Rosa
Parks.
Parks. I'm not talking
And I
about.
saw that. No, I
Yeah.
don't remember her name, but isn't that kind of sad that we don't know her name?
You know, it's sad because I was gonna bring my newspaper and set it here and be able to say her name like I really knew it. But now, you got it,
Colvin. Claudette
What?
Colvin.
Claudette Colvin. I mean, thank you, Gina. But
That's why we
these
need
are,
young
I mean,
people.
I remembered the C. No, because you know what? It's a lot to keep up with. I'm telling
Yeah,
you, it's
it
a lot
is,
of
it
history
is.
to keep track of. And so, especially for people like me who, you know, who don't always regularly review this information, it's hard to remember these things, but you remember pieces of it. So when you said it, I said, I remember the C, but it wasn't good enough. And so, Joyce, I did Google that.
Thank you.
Google does
Good, wonderful.
have its benefits. It has its benefits when you know already what you're looking for. You know what I mean? If you're just searching, you're not going to find what you need to find. So
that's right. So it's a lot of opportunity for not just African Americans to learn our history. It's a chance for other ethnic groups that in the past probably never even considered what our people have gone through in this country. It gives them a chance to learn, especially this book you guys are putting out, Joyce and Karen. It gives people a chance to really understand what went on in Rockford, let alone the rest of the country, in our history. Joyce, can you talk about the book? First of all, I don't want to forget, how can people get it? How much does it cost? We got to get that information out early so people can start planning on spending that money.
That's exactly right. I totally agree with you. Now, the book actually drops at the end of the week. That's number one. The book is only $24.95. And I'm saying only because we could spend that at McDonald's, right?
Yep.
So drops at the end, and you could come to the center to pick up a book, but you probably should call first just to make sure, you know, we have copies available and all, how many copies you need. Let us kind of know so we can prepare for you to come. Now, the other wonderful thing, it is going to be, you could purchase it via Amazon. And so that should be launched probably by the end of the week as well. So if you're not able to get here to purchase one, you could purchase it on Amazon, as well as you can get an ebook on Amazon. So either way, ebook, hard copy via Amazon, or hard copy here at the center directly. Okay.
Okay. You say they can start inquiring about this at the end of the week or early next week?
Look, they can call anytime and say, hi, I want a book. I want to put my name down so you can hold me a book. You can do that. Okay. Pickup begins probably by the end of the week, possibly even Saturday if need be, or next week, definitely. But you benefit from calling ahead at 815-962-9117 just to say, I want you to hold a book for me, because when they drop, they're going to be going like hotcakes, you guys. You know they're going to be going fast because I got people calling me already. I want 5 books. I want 4 books. I want 3 books. That's a wonderful thing, though. I'm excited about that.
We need everyone to come to 1005 South Court Street and at the Landmark Building, 524 Kent.
Thank you.
We want them to come there.
Yes, thank you, Karen. That's correct. And I'll repeat what Karen just said. It's the Brown Social Service Building at 1005 South Court Street, where you will pick up the books from, okay?
Uh-huh. Okay.
That's new, because I sure would have went to
the
Landmark Building.
A lot of people
That's
still
for
go over to the Landmark Building.
Can I ask
we do have programming over there.
Yeah.
It's just like our administrative office is in the Social Service Building, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask a question, if that's okay, really quick regarding the library. What I'm noticing, there are a lot of authors in the Rockford area recently, like new people, children, adults that are starting to make books. I'm not saying it's a new thing, but it's something that's definitely a trend that is growing in the Rockford area, people knowing how to publish their own books. And I heard you say that people are putting them into the library. Do you notice that, where people locally are bringing their books to your library?
The library named for Chuck Jefferson opened March the 31st, 2018. And we do have a local author section.
Okay.
And we always request any authors out there to bring their books and either donate them or sell them to us, so we can have copies of their actual book in the library for a keepsake for the community to review, us to lend out or loan out, if you will. We always request that. I was on a call yesterday with Janine Stevenson, and she had several authors online with her, and I requested that they please bring a copy of their book to the library, to the Chuck Jefferson Library. So we're always willing to accept any local artists, and we want them to bring their books so we can have a copy of it. And like I said to Janine yesterday, as a historian, as Tommy indicated, I'm a historian first before I'm anything else. And so I'm making notation of things that I see and hear. You better believe it, and make a documentation of that. And so we want copies because we know people have been doing great things in this community, especially our writers and our editors in this community. So please donate your books to the Chuck Jefferson Research Library, as well as, if you know anyone who has written a book and they don't think we have a copy of it, please ask them to bring a copy of their book, because that's publicity too. Yeah. When you donate your book, and because we have book series and things like that, we have book discussions, And so that encourages others to purchase your book because of the discussion. So when you get a chance, donate your local to local writers. Please donate your book, or either ask if we're willing to purchase your books from you. Okay.
For sure.
Good. You know, I got to bring this guy up. His name is Robert Moore, and President Clinton brought him in as a U.S. Marshal. And he's from Rockford, Illinois. I think he lives in Springfield now. But he came and spoke to a group of young men that I mentored to. And he wrote a book, and his book was about all the U.S. Marshals that were African Americans. And the first one, the first guy that he tabbed was a guy named Bass Reeves. Anybody heard of Bass Reeves?
Mm-mm.
Nobody heard of him.
I know
that's
Robert
fine,
Moore,
that's
but
fine.
I don't know that name.
That he started off, when he spoke to my group, he talked about how President Clinton appointed him to be a U.S. Marshal, and he described his work. But he talked about Bass Reeves. Now they made movies about this Bass Reeves. The only reason I bring him up is it's another prime example of how people in history have really made their mark. And I never heard of Bass Reeves ever until Robert Moore told the whole story about U.S. Black Marshals moving forward. And they made a movie about it. I suggest if that book is not in your library, we should get it. I think I might have a copy of it. I'm gonna take a look at that and try to get that in there.
Because Robert Moore, we featured, because Robert Moore was connected to Jackie Mannery, and we featured Robert Moore in Chrome Light 2 magazine. And I think we featured his book, but I never got a copy of his book. So I'm going to write that down and make sure that our director, Fayreen Muhammad, knows, our library director knows, this particular book. And what's the name of the book again?
It's the first U.S. Marshals, I think.
Okay.
Robert Moore, and then the first U.S. African-American Marshals, something like that. It's in there. But you pull Robert Moore up, it'll come up.
Yes.
We have about 10 minutes left because we got started about 2:37. So I want to let you guys know we got 10 minutes left before we're at the end of this segment. Okay. Karen, you got anything you want to get out there?
Well, with the Black History that's here with us, I think that it would behoove us to shine a little light on our programs. Unfortunately, we couldn't do the Quiz Bowl. I thought that was a success last year as we reactivated it from years ago. So our programs, as Joyce will attest to, brings about some of the motivation for our young people to be that writer, or to be that photographer, or that author. And so we do the behind the scenes kind of thing in our TANF program, where we motivate our young people. Some of them are not so young, maybe they're middle age, to go out and be their best selves and find those niches where they can make a difference. And sometimes people just need a little bit of boost because they feel disenfranchised, or they feel hopeless and helpless. So the fact that we have the Teen Reach program for the 6 through 17 and the TANF program for our adults as a resource, I think it's going to be very palatable on the community at large, because we have provided, especially with our special in the midst of COVID, we had to do some special program and reverse our order of how we handle our TANF participants, where we were beyond the provider. Those people came in and we gave them jobs, and we beat the pavement to find employers that would hire them. That was so successful. I think kudos off to Joyce for getting that handled well. And the fact that we have really tweaked our virtual piece for the students. We did our distant learning for our younger kids that are falling through the gaps because of virtual learning. So I have always found, since being involved with Booker that people, I always hear this. I remember what Booker did for me. I remember what it used to be back for Booker. Of course, we say African American Resource Center at Booker, but I always hear people give me show me or tell me about the impact that this center has had on their lives. The imperceptible ways in which we don't think we matter.
Yeah.
And so it shows itself in many different ways. And so that's amazing to me.
It is. I just have to say this, I started a lot of my sports career at Booker. I started playing baseball there, and we did a lot of losing. I remember that. But we beat the little squirts. If we didn't beat nobody else, we beat the little squirts. And but the reason I bring that up is, we were losers, but we played the best we could. And our coaches were the best men. I mean, the Zacharys, John Zachary just was a great supporter of us as young kids. But we had a guy like Ira Matthews that went on to play baseball for us. Then he went on and won the Super Bowl for the Oakland Raiders back in the early 80s. It's just, there's so much history that comes out of Rockford, and there's more to come. But, I can't thank you guys enough for putting this book together and having an impact in our community. And Joyce, it was a great way to raise some money. I mean, that's a lot of work to make that book. But
listen, let me just say this real quickly. I know we don't have a lot of time. Our annual dinner, the proceeds from the annual dinner pays for operations. And with us potentially losing that would have been some bills that we could not pay. And because of this particular phenomenal fundraiser with this book, we were able to do that. And so I'm thankful. Look, as a new executive director, I am elated and thankful that my first year behind the desk has been good, even in the midst of COVID,
really?
and ending up with this product. And I'm excited about that because I love Booker's history. That's why I got involved, because of those colored soldiers, and so that fundraiser had great impact on the center and its efforts here and its programs here. So I say thank you, community, for your support and your ongoing support. I cannot say that enough. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this, Gina, then you finish up because we have like 4 minutes left. There's a movie out, I think it's called The 24 or The 21. And it takes place in the South, but it's World War I in the same conditions of these guys that came to the fort out by the airport. What was the name of that camp?
Camp Grant.
Camp Grant.
Camp Grant.
Camp Grant. And this movie is based on the struggles that those men had, even though it was in the South. But they were World War II African-American troops, and nobody wanted to deal with them. It's a tough movie, but it'll get you in the mindset of what our soldiers might have gone through here in Rockford, Illinois, if you watch that movie. And with you guys always bringing that up, because that's where the guys finally found themselves. They could have fun. They were entertainers, and they did things to bring some joy to their life. And I think Booker offered that to a lot of young Black men at a time they really needed it.
Yes.
Okay, Gina, can I finish up with you, and then we'll work on our next show?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to thank everybody for, being a part. I just want to encourage anyone in the community that wants to kind of give back. I think Booker Washington Center is one of the most amazing places to give back. If you're an entertainer, there are so many ways that you can participate at Booker and help and volunteer. If you're just a community member and there are things that you want to do to give back to the youth and the adults, mentoring, whatever it is, Booker Washington Center is really a place where you can get that done. And so I encourage anyone to reach out to Joyce, reach out to Karen, and just kind of give yourself to the community as much as you can. I think that that is something that you can do during Black History Month to really give back to your community. So that's all I have to say, and I thank everyone so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, and go get them.
I will. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to finish by saying this. It's been a tough 11 months since I've been off the air. I did the show for Juneteenth, and that was a 2.5-hour production that worked out pretty well. But it's nice to have my daughter help me catch up on some of this Zooming business because that's the wave of the future. And I want to thank Gina for making sure that her old man can eventually learn how to do something electronically and then move on.
It's my job to make you look good, so that's what I do.
I know that's right. That's right.
But I thank you all very much, and this should air real soon, and we're going to keep it going so people know what to do with their money. Buy this book.
Right.
All
That's
right.
correct.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay, thank you. And as
All right.
usual,
Yeah.
I'll see you all next time.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.